Good morning, everyone. So basically moving one level up from data to actually one level up, which would be applications. And if you followed the talks over the last 2 days, the word AI agent was heard quite a lot. And what I'm trying to do over the next 25 minutes is to dig a little bit into things like what actually is an AI agent, where are they going to be used, what's the regulatory framework that we have so far, which is not a lot, and then potentially what can go wrong with AI agents and how can we mitigate that, and if we can't mitigate that, who's going to pay the bill for the damage in the end. And then we go a little bit into a possible technological solution for that and also into an economical solution for that. Try that all in 25 minutes. So first, very basic, what is an AI agent? So first of all, it contains 3 things, actually. So it's a piece of software, right? You can run that on your computer, you can run it in the cloud. It can even be mobile in some ways or forms. It has 3 things. The first thing is a brain, that's the model, or an LLM, which is connected to that. That can be one of the big ones. We just heard about a lot of big ones, but you also see very specialized ones coming up very much, especially from Europe, interestingly enough. Where there's specific data stored, not just crawling the internet, but things which are not necessarily available in the internet. So that is the brain that you put into such a thing. Even more important, probably, at least in the future, is that an AI agent has tools. Tools meaning basically that it can use the internet just in the same way as you use the internet. So it can scroll the internet, it can look up things in the internet, but it can also be active in the internet. It can post something, it can buy something, it can basically do anything in the internet. And why is that going to become very, very powerful? That is because of the power of standardization. Because we see standardization efforts right now, like Open Agent Protocol, but also MCP and things like that, which everyone who has a service in the internet can just implement on top of their service. Which means that all agents, no matter who built them, can start using their service. And that is the future customer base of internet services. So this will be adopted very, very widely, and it will change the internet as we know it completely. Because now not only people are going to use the internet, but also agents are going to use the internet. And they can be multiplied and scaled indefinitely. And the third thing that an AI agent normally has is some kind of a notebook. It's the memory. Memory meaning that if the agent experienced something, like imagine a help desk agent, and he got a reward or cookie for giving the right answer to one specific question. If this same question comes up again, the agent doesn't need to go to the model, to the LLM anymore and pay for that. He can just write down in his notebook the answer to this question. If the same question comes again, can very quickly give the same answer again, and hopefully that was correct. So it is a learning thing. So if we have these 3 things together, we have actually built something really, really powerful. And industry is very much noticing that, of course. And we had a lot of talk with industry players, and we have some kind of a picture where it goes. So the first thing which is being adopted right now and which you can already use and see is everything that is around DeFi. They normally call it fintech, but it is actually DeFi. Why is that? Because it is already fully digitized, and there's no, not a big way to go for people who actually have that. So you can already use AI agents, and you can give them half a Bitcoin and see what happens if they invest them nicely or not. But we also see other fast adopting industries, like, of course, the customer support thing. That is, I think you noticed that all over the internet already. But we also see it in legal and compliance. in technology and e-commerce and so on. What's coming up in the next couple of months or years is very much also manufacturing, education, media and publishing. I talked with a professor of a university yesterday, actually, and at their university, they are pretty much afraid of the AI agents which are going to replace the professors. Because right now, all the information that you can get in a university, you can basically also get on YouTube, but you're missing the interaction, of course, you're just listening. With an AI agent, you basically have a perfect professor which also answers questions and gives you the warmth that you need for going through your studies. So it's going to be quite big. This is going to be a really, really big industry. Regulation-wise, there's not a lot. So for example, in the EU, we have the AI Act, but the AI Act doesn't mention AI agents at all. AI Act is more for regulating the broader scheme. So what do we not want in the EU, for example, social profiling and stuff like that. So they're looking at AI as a whole and not at the specifics of an AI agent. That might be even okay that we have that, because the technology advances so fast that regulation will always lag a little bit behind. And if we regulate now things like AI agents, then we probably just use the advantage to move fast. So it is okay like it is. We shouldn't push for too much regulation here. Maybe we have solutions like we can regulate ourselves in a way. And this is what I'm talking about. When you compare an AI agent to an employee, you find a lot of similarities. Like an employee, they are autonomous and make their own decisions. They execute tasks that an entrepreneur, a boss, or whoever gives to them, and they use the resources which are available to them, very much like humans. And they do that first without human intervention. It's always nice, of course, you know that when you are a boss, when you are an entrepreneur, it's always nice to check the results, maybe, because otherwise it might not be so good. But the work normally works without somebody breathing behind them. They work with tools. They work with other people. People work with other people. AI agents work with other AI agents. We have interfaces for that. They improve, like with a notebook, over time. Some are generalists, some are specialists, and they cost money. Humans cost a lot more, of course, because they want a monthly salary. An AI agent only costs when it thinks or when it works. So this is a little bit cheaper, but still, somehow, it costs something. So very, very similar to humans. The thing about humans is that humans are accountable for the stuff that they do. And if you have one person, then this person might fail and make something which is unexpected. And we see the same thing with AI agents currently, because AIs are not very good in delivering always the right results. So they sometimes hallucinate, sometimes they deliberately lie, and we don't know why they lie. We never found out why they lie, but they seem to have reasons to lie. If you put more and more agents together, of course, the probability that there's a lie in between multiplies, right? So if you have a horde of agents working on one task, the probability that this task is based on wrong information in one point, and then this multiplies, is very, very high. So, and also, of course, there's attack vectors. When you have many agents, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with data. Give your agent your private key, and if this agent then starts working with other agents, the agents might go and share the private key with other agents where he doesn't really know if they are trusted, and so on. So a lot of things can go wrong. Don't even want to mention GDPR. So what happens when something goes wrong? Well, if it goes wrong with a person, it's pretty easy. You can talk to the person and say, try to not make this thing anymore. And if they repeat, maybe you get rid of the person and get a better person. So that is accountability, right? If I'm an employee and I do my job in a bad way, then I probably get fired over time, then I don't have money, I can't feed the family, not good. If as a company, like the big horde, I do a lot of wrong things, then I can be sued, right? There's laws around me, there's a legal framework around me, my company can sue for everything that it has, so there's accountability in that. With agents, we don't really have that right now, but we would actually need it because they can go and do a lot of damage. So how do we approach that? So first of all, there's 3 very simple things that we need to get for accountability. First of all, and that will every lawyer will tell you that if I want to make someone accountable, I need to know who it is. So we need to find out who's the provider who actually wrote the agent, who's the deployer who's actually using the agent, and we need to know the agent as such. So that's 3 things we need to know. So they must be identifiable. And then when I go to company X and buy this AI agents, which are going to go along the internet with my half Bitcoin and try to invest it in a proper way, then I would really like to know the properties of this thing. So like with a normal product, if you buy a toast oven, you get this little warranty sheet and says, this is going to go this way and use it not like that, use it not like that. So I want that paper, basically. I want someone, the provider, the one who built the agent, to tell me what the agent can actually do and what it can't. And then the third thing, this is very specific to agents, because they use models, I would like to have a certain protection, at least in some fields, that those models don't change. That's going to be complicated. So the easier ones are the first 2. So let's first look at the first 2. So the first 2, the green and the red one, we can solve with DIDs and verifiable credentials. This is what we have done for the last 8 years, basically. So we can do that. We have a protocol there. It's called KILT. We have an international standardization called DIDs and verifiable credentials. We can have the provider identify with a DID, which is decentralized identifier. We can the AI agent to self-identify also with a DID. Very, very easy. To those DIDs, we can link verifiable credentials, which is basically this warranty sheet, which is issued by the provider, signed digitally by the provider, and then stored on the blockchain. So that means everyone can read it, everyone can refer to it and say, hey, you guys actually guaranteed that's going to behave this way, and now it behaves that way. That's not nice. And then we have the verifier, and the verifier is basically the user or the deployer or the other agent who uses this agent. So that is easy technology, which is already here. The third thing, not changing models, is a little bit more complicated, because when you use ChatGPT, this is impossible, right? It's changing every minute, basically. But there are some areas where you actually need some kind of trusted execution, which means that you take a snapshot of something, especially in the medical sphere. This is very important. Medical companies don't really want agents which they deploy to interact with something which is out there in the internet, because it could always leak patient data and stuff like that. So you have to really be careful on these things. So what you normally do is that you take a smaller model or a snapshot of a model, put this model together with the agent in a trusted execution environment, and then you are relatively safe. So this is at least what we recommend to people. So now we solved the technology problem, and what we got out of that is basically a nice piece of technology, because TEEs exist, DIDs exist, verifiable credentials exist. We can implement that in no time. Problem is that no one's going to use it just because there's a beautiful technology. So what we have to do is we have to think a little bit forward, maybe, and put in, for example, financial incentives to bring the accountability into the system. So what we could do, for example, is that we take a collateral from the provider. So I'm building this great investment agent, which is going to make you rich if you put half a Bitcoin in it. And I say I'm not going to steal your half Bitcoin, because my agent could just send it to me, right? And then it's gone and I have half a Bitcoin, not bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put $2 million as a collateral into a smart contract. We can use the Polkadot Hub for that. Shout out to Polkadot. And it sits there, first of all, so the provider cannot access it, the user cannot access it, it's safe, locked on the blockchain. And then I, as a provider, I'm going to go to clients and tell them, hey, beautiful agent, costs you only $1,000 and it's going to make you rich. And if it doesn't behave like a guarantee on my paper on the blockchain, then there's collateral and you get part of that, right? So the client is very much excited about that. The expectations are managed. And then the client starts using this thing. Now, when the agent executes the task and fails in that, and accidentally sends the half Bitcoin to me and not to Dexus to invest it, then a dispute could be triggered. So we're now triggering a dispute, potentially on the blockchain. We could use a lot of things which we already have on Polkadot governance for that. And we have the client and we have the provider, and they both provide their evidence in a formal way to the blockchain. And then there would be a ruling, and that ruling would probably, at least at the beginning, not be an total AI ruling. It would probably be a mixture of AI and some humans actually looking at the case, maybe the humans having the majority in the beginning. And there would be a deliberation phase, and in case that it is proven that the provider actually violated the warranties that they gave, the properties were not correct, then the collateral would be taken, or part of the collateral would be taken, and would be shifted to the client as a reimbursement for the damage that they had. That would be the general idea. We can again use a lot of things that we already have. As I said, we have a lot of things in the Polkadot governance. We also have really nice systems which take care of storing money and so on. So there's a lot of stuff that we already have. We can just have to put that together. And what comes out of it is actually a nice system which is driven by capitalism, which we all like, because if I have this $1,000 agent, which you have to pay $1,000 for, which makes you rich, and it has this guarantee and the collateral behind that, and there's another guy from a shady country which has the same idea of an agent but costs only 500, then the customer can decide, do I want to take the 500 without the collateral, without the insurance in the back, basically, or because I'm putting in a whole half Bitcoin, maybe I take the more expensive one and I have the insurance behind that. So capitalism drives that. It's an incentive for the provider to put down the collateral and get better into the market because they have a selling position there. It is insured. And it is, of course, good for client protection because the client can gain a much clearer expectation of what this software is actually going to do and is financially protected. So this is basically what I wanted to share with you. What's 3&AI? 3&AI is a very, very new project, just a couple of weeks old. What we try to prove is that 3 people are actually enough to build anything, and the rest can be taken over by AI agents. We think that this is a a business model of the future, because a lot of work that is currently being done by developers, by designers, by content creators, and so on, will be maybe in half a year be in an acceptable state if it comes out of AI agents. And there's a prediction which says that the first unicorns, which just have founders and no employees, will actually emerge in 2026, which is not too far from now. And what we're trying is that we experiment on that. Of course, that doesn't mean that we're not collaborating with people. That doesn't mean that we're not buying services. So if we need Twitter or Telegram or TikTok for a campaign, we're going to use TikTok or Telegram or Twitter and not build it ourselves, right? So we can work with things, we're going to work with other software projects and so on, but any time that we feel that we should have an employee for this task, we're going to give it to AI. This is an experiment. Let's see how it works. If you want to interact with us, you can reach us under those Boomer channels. We have email, we have LinkedIn, and we have a website. And yeah, we would be happy if people reach out to us and go forward on this path with us. Also very much interested in ideas, which pieces of software we could actually utilize for building this, or if anyone's interested in building it together with us. So we are very much open, and we want to show as a first experiment on the 3 and AI idea that we can build an accountability layer for AI agents. Thank you very much.